Once upon a time, nestled deep in a sunny, green forest, there lived a little girl with hair the color of spun gold. Her name was Goldilocks, and she was known for her adventurous spirit. One bright morning, while she was out picking wildflowers, she wandered a little farther than usual. Deeper and deeper into the woods she went, until she stumbled upon a charming little cottage she had never seen before. It had a thatched roof, a sturdy wooden door, and smoke curling gently from its chimney. Curiosity bubbled inside her. She tiptoed to the door and gave a gentle knock. Knock, 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 but there was no answer. She peeked through the window, but saw no one inside. The door was slightly ajar, so, feeling a bit cheeky, she pushed it open and stepped inside. The cottage was so cozy and neat. In the main room, a wooden table was set for breakfast. On the table sat 3 bowls of porridge. There was a great big bowl, a medium-sized bowl, and a teeny-tiny little bowl. Goldilocks hadn't realized how hungry she was from her walk. The porridge smelled delicious. First, she tasted the porridge from the great big bowl. "Ouch!" she cried, pulling her spoon back quickly. "This porridge is much too hot." Next, she tried the porridge from the medium-sized bowl. "Black," she said with a shiver. "This porridge is much too cold." Finally, she dipped her spoon into the teeny-tiny little bowl. She hummed with a happy smile. "This porridge is just right." And it was so delicious that she ate it all up, every last drop. With her tummy full and warm, Goldilocks looked around the cozy room and saw 3 chairs sitting by the fireplace. There was a great big chair, a medium-sized chair, and a teeny-tiny little chair. She thought it would be lovely to sit and rest for a moment. First, she tried to climb into the great big chair. She heaved and she hoed, but when she finally settled in, she found it was much too hard. It felt like sitting on a rock. Next, she sat down in the medium-sized chair. "Whoa," she said as she sank deep into the cushions. It was much too soft, and she felt like she might disappear completely. Finally, she sat in the teeny-tiny little chair. "Ah," she sighed contentedly, "this chair is just right." It was so comfy and perfect for her size. But as she rocked back and forth, enjoying the warmth of the fire, there was a sudden crack. The little chair broke into pieces and tumbled to the floor. "Oh dear," Goldilocks whispered, feeling a little bit guilty. Feeling a bit sleepy after her meal and her tumble, Goldilocks decided to explore the rest of the cottage. She went up a narrow wooden staircase and found a bedroom. In the bedroom, there were 3 beds all in a row. There was a great big bed, a medium-sized bed, and a teeny-tiny little bed. A nap sounded like a wonderful idea. First, she climbed onto the great big bed. She bounced once, but it was much too high at the head. It felt like her feet were dangling in the air. Next, she tried the medium-sized bed. This one was much too low at the foot. Her feet felt all scrunched up. Finally, she lay down in the teeny-tiny little bed. It was perfectly soft, perfectly warm, and perfectly cozy. "This bed," she yawned, "is just right." She pulled the little quilt up to her chin, and in no time at all, she was fast asleep, dreaming sweet dreams. Now, this cozy little cottage belonged to a family of 3 bears. A great big papa bear, a medium-sized mama bear, and a teeny-tiny little baby bear. They had gone out for a walk in the woods while their porridge cooled down. As they returned to their home, they noticed right away that something was not quite right. Papa Bear looked at the front door and growled in his great big rumbly voice. "Someone's been at our door. It's been left open." They walked inside to the dining table. Papa Bear looked at his bowl and roared, "Someone's been eating my porridge." Mama Bear looked at her bowl and said in her soft, medium-sized voice, "Someone's been eating my porridge too." Then Baby Bear looked at his bowl, which was completely empty. and he cried in his teeny tiny little voice, "Someone's been eating my porridge and has eaten it all up." The three bears were very puzzled. They looked around the room. Papa Bear stomped over to his chair and grumbled, "Someone's been sitting in my chair." Mama Bear went to her chair and said, "Someone's been sitting in my chair as well." Then Baby Bear looked at the pile of wood on the floor where his chair used to be and wailed, "Someone's been sitting in my chair and has broken it all to pieces." Now the bears were quite sure someone was in their house. They decided to check upstairs. Tiptoeing as quietly as three bears can, they went up the stairs to their bedroom. Papa Bear went to his bed and bellowed in his great big voice, "Someone's been sleeping in my bed." The pillow was all rumpled. Mama Bear looked at her bed and said in her medium-sized voice, "Someone's been sleeping in my bed, too." The blankets were all messy. Then Baby Bear went over to his little bed. His eyes grew wide. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," he squeaked in his teeny tiny voice, "and here she is." Just then, Goldilocks' eyes fluttered open. She saw three furry bear faces looking down at her. A great big face, a medium-sized face, and a teeny tiny little face. She gasped. She had never been so surprised in her whole life. With a yelp, Goldilocks leaped out of the bed. She didn't wait to say sorry or explain. She scrambled down the stairs, flew out the open door, and ran through the forest as fast as her legs could carry her. She didn't stop running until she saw her own little house peeking through the trees. She ran inside, hugged her mother tightly, and promised never to wander into a stranger's house ever again. And as for the three bears, they fixed Baby Bear's chair, made some more porridge, and made sure to lock their door from then on. And from that day forward, everything in their cozy little cottage was always just right. I hope you enjoyed our story tonight. Now it's time to snuggle into your own comfy bed, close your eyes, and drift off to sleep. We have many more wonderful adventures waiting for you in Dreamland. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again for another story time. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more cozy tailies. Good night and sweet dreams.